Cell and Zamasu are coming to Fusion World. Let's talk about it. Everybody, Espira, and we are breaking down the new leaders for Set 2 Blazing Aura in Fusion World. Not every card has been officially revealed, but we have gotten a couple of leaks. We've gotten the first 3 leaders officially, and now they're kind of revealing some of the blue cards before moving on to Cell. But we did get some reveals based off of a Japanese magazine, which gives us the full context, or almost the full context of the leaders. And then we also have a few SR cards, which is super exciting. So let's break down what we're going to see in Set 2. To kick it off, we've got the Goku. And of course, guys, if you want to talk in real time, anytime new cards get revealed from the new set, we have the community Discord. Links to those will be down below. So we have the Goku here, which has been named Top Coup, which is a little appropriate when we see its effect. On the front side is just a typical draw leader, but awakens at 3, which is a little bit of a balancing issue, right? Like, does it do anything crazy? Does it have 25k base? Well, no. However, it does have an ability that cheats some stuff into play, which is nice. On the awakened side, we have God Goku, 20k power when attacking, draw 1 card. Activate main once per turn for 1 and discard a card. So pretty costly. But you get to play up to 1 battle card with 20k power less and Tournament of Power in its special traits from in hand. Something specific is that there are the Tournament of Power traits going on in the second set, which means red will be encompassing a bunch of Tournament of Power cards as opposed to just being specifically Universe 7, Universe 6. We saw a Rosie earlier in the reveal cycle that kind of fits into that. We also see a Kefla in a little bit when we look at the SRs. So it's going to be a mishmash of different Tournament of Power stuff, which obviously indirectly also supports the Universe 6 and 7 stuff from the first set. Off face value, not insanely good, and kind of makes it weird to justify being a 3 Life Awakened leader. But at the end of the day, that all depends on how good being able to play 20Ks are, right? It's not a cost constraint, it's a power constraint. And obviously cards can have abilities that buff them up, make them stronger, allowed to do other things. So there's a lot of value that could be had in this ability. So maybe it's a good balancing factor, which we'll actually go see when we see the SRs in a bit. Moving on from Top Coup, however, we do have Vegeta. Let me scroll out here. And Vegeta reads very interesting, not for what we have now, but what future possibilities could be. On his front side, typical draw lead, typical awaken at 4 leader to draw a card. Now on his awaken side, 20k power Vegeta when attacking, draw 1 card. End of your turn, switch up to 2 of your rest mode energy to active mode. So we've got Frieza that does battle cards, which obviously incredibly strong. And now we have Vegeta for energy, which in its own case is very strong. People will often compare this to Dofi in One Piece. This is essentially SS3 in Masters, which was, long ago, and it's been an incredibly strong leader there, and I assume it's going to be incredibly strong now. Right now in yellow, we don't have a ton of options in terms of things you can do on your opponent's turn, but this is a leader that scales incredibly well with the future of the game as they introduce more options for you to be able to interact with your opponent during your battle phase. And even just now, at the moment, we've got Death Ball, which isn't amazing, but the fact that you can commit your turns to being able to curve out perfectly and still have the defense up to use a Death Ball to prevent your opponent from attacking twice or what have you is really, really solid. So while there's nothing intrinsically interesting that we can do with Vegeta right now, the design space that he lives in is incredibly powerful. With the Saiyans out of the way, we now have fused Zamasu, which is really hard to evaluate as a leader. 15k front side when attacking, draw 1. Once again, awaken when your life is at 3 or less, draw 1 card, flip this over. This time he does have 25k base, so huge Fuse Zamasu on the backside with the activate main once per turn. For 1, you get to discard 1 card from your hand. If your life is at 2 or less, add the top card of your deck to your life. And that's it. And this is really hard to evaluate. Now, don't get me wrong. Blue is obviously one of the colors that can sustain not being able to draw the best. You can peel off loop. You can draw cards. A lot of your cards cycle. So you're getting a lot of value off of your cards, but not being able to draw can be really rough, even if you're in the color that allows you to do it okay. A lot of people compare this to Enel in One Piece, and I will say those are completely different contexts. Obviously, this is a game that everything has rush, everything has haste, everything can attack right away. That's a big difference, not having supplementing sickness. And Enel kind of triggers automatically, whereas this one you need to pay for and actively discard for. So not only are you not drawing, but you're discarding, which eventually you get the card back by being able to get the life, but it's very suspect and doesn't have the same inevitability at the moment that green has, whereas Broly can really take advantage of the fact that defensively it's a little bit beefier, knowing that you have that clock on turn 5 and 6 of going into an 8-drop Broly. At the moment, blue doesn't really have that. I'm really suspect about Fuse Zamasu doing anything at the moment in the game, but I do open it up to saying that the support could be there to really make it viable. I don't know that it is, but something to consider. Those are all the official releases, but of course, we've got the mag leaks to go over to. And thankfully for us, we even have the last leader reveal in there. So we've got Cell, which was the speculated leader coming back, because something that you'll notice is that it very much feels like set 2 is an extension of set 1. Almost feels like a set 1.5, right? Red is returning to the Tournament of Power stuff. Blue is returning to the Goku Black arc. Green is returning to the Android arc. The only one that's kind of yellow is a little bit more suspect, but even then opens up to having some synergies with set 1. Regardless, here we go. We don't have the front side, so we're not entirely sure whether it's a crit leader or draw leader. I assume it's a draw leader. It just kind of synergizes the best with what Ramp is trying to do, but regardless. When attacking, you get to draw 1 card and then activate main once per turn if you have 5 energy, very specifically 5 energy. Choose up to 1 card with energy cost of 3 or more from your drop into your energy. So it gets you up to 6. Does mean that you don't have to charge for turn also if you want to go that route, or you go from 4 to 5 with the charge, then 5 over to 6. Now, I have to assume that the reason that it works only at 5 is because green's going to gain additional abilities that allow you to blow up your own energy for momentum for usage. So Cell is going to be one of the more mid-ranger green decks where it allows you to accelerate energy early, but then you're really staying in those mid-range numbers, those 5 to 6s, to get value from your cards. It'll really depend on its kit. It'd be incredibly strong if it was 5 or more energy to be able to keep ramping. So here on this end, it'll really depend on how good the kit is. I don't know that the free 1 ramp and keeping card draw is more valuable than Broly, who's able to get the free ramp and keep a draw and be a 25k body. Of course, the draw needs you to work around with Selku at the moment, which is a bit of vulnerability, but either way, I think there's interesting design space that could be introduced with this card. I don't know that it exists yet, but I do think some experimentation is worth it. At the moment, I do think I still lean towards using either Android 17, Gohan, or Broly, but I do think with the right kit, having something that consistently allows you to stay at that 5-6 range over and over and over again could have a lot of usage, especially if we get other things that give you benefits for blowing up your own energy and consistently going back down. But of course, the leaders aren't the only thing we got. So we did also get SR reveals from this same magazine. So we can break it down here. The translations are on the Discord, but for the most part, I do remember what they say. So we've got a 2-drop Zamasu SR 20k, which I know people were really fiending for having more Zamasus, especially for the Goku Black support. So it's a 5k combo. It has a permanent that says this card cannot be removed by skills. Unsure about the translation yet, but at the moment, I think the way it reads is all skills and not just your opponent's skills. So there is some questions there in regards to you not being able to actually use the Zamasu with Goku Black. So something to consider there. And then when attacking, you may discard a card to draw a card. So it's some filtering. I'm not the biggest fan of the Zamasu. I understand some people say this is specifically what Goku Black wants, but I'm just not sold on it being phenomenal. Maybe it works a lot better when we see what the remainder of the kit is, but this is a very unexciting SR in my opinion. Kefla though reads super dope. She's a 4-drop 20k, does have the Tournament of Power Arena tag also, which is great. 10k combo, which is awesome. I love when my SRs have 10k combo. And she's got the permanent, if your leader is awakened, you get an additional 5k power. So she's a 25k base, which is super solid. And on top of that, has an on play. You get to draw a card and then play a 3-cost or less Tournament of Power card alongside her. So that's super solid, super strong. Being able to cheat that kind of energy cost is huge. And then when we consider that you can play this in Top Coup, so for 1, you discard a card. You play Kefla. She's now at 25k on the board. She draws a card. She replaces the card that you discarded for the cost, and she plays another battle card. And at that point, you'll still have 2 to 3 energy up to be able to make additional plays. This is incredibly strong. It takes really good battle cards to justify being able to play the top of Goku. And I think in this regard, she's super powerful. The utility cost of having her in the deck is almost none. You can hardcast her for 4 in other strategies, and she's still a draw 1, 10k combo, 25k that plays another card. So I think she's super dope and exactly the type of card that this strategy needed, and now has me more excited for every reveal that we're going to get as far as 3-cost Tournament Power cards are going to go, because just see how much further we can take it. But just off rip, Kefla by herself makes Top Coup extremely interesting to look and build. And finally, to round out the final few SRs, we have Bulma. Bulma reads incredibly busted, especially when you consider her synergies with like Frieza and stuff like that. So she has an activate battle. She's a 5k combo, something in mind. She has an activate battle. You can put her in rest mode and take up to 1 life and then choose between 1 of 2 abilities. You get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 4 or less and put it in rest mode. Alternatively, if you yourself have a battle card in rest mode that costs 3 or more, you get to draw a card. which is super powerful. It's a self-awakener that isn't vulnerable to your opponent's abilities because you can activate battle on their turn. You can turn off an additional attacker. She's a self-awakener. She compresses so many rolls. And on top of that, she's a one-drop Ginyu, but like better, right? Because you can put her in rest mode, draw a card, and then even more so in Frieza, you can do this on your turn, and then you can do it on your opponent's turn. So with just one copy of Bulma, you're effectively drawing 2 additional cards every single turn, plus self-awakening, plus having some extra defensive options if you need that instead. Now, if you're doing that with 2 Bulmas in Frieza, you're drawing 4 cards a turn cycle. Obviously, your opponent's going to interact with you and not leave those things on board, but just the fact that that is possible if your opponent doesn't have an answer is incredibly powerful, and she's absurd. Like, I love my self-awakeners that have extra utility, and this is utility overload. Like, this is a card that is going to see play in every yellow deck for like ever until they power group it, which I think would be nuts because she's incredibly strong. Finally, we have the Trunks, and Trunks is a little bit wonky. He's a little bit weird. 3 cost, 3 specified green, 20k for 5k combo. Has an auto. If you have 5 or more energy, put the top card of your deck in your energy in rest mode. So it's like, okay, we already have this ability, but with Selku, which has better synergies, what we're looking to do. What else does the card do? It has an auto once per turn. When your battle card with a cost of 5 or more leaves the battle area by your opponent, this card gets 10k power until the end of your next turn. So if it's your opponent's turn, they remove something on your board, you're able to get an additional 10k boost, turning this into a 30k defensively and offensively because it remains until the end of your turn. Okay, I think it's weird. At the end of the day, I think the biggest benefit is that it's a 3-drop that ramps you. So you can go, so the immediate synergies with cards that currently exist is you can go Trunks into 2-drop Android 18, and you're at 6 now, so you're able to actually attack on the same turn and get those additional draws. So it does lend itself to a mid-ranger ramp strategy. Of course, being at 5 is something that Cell cares about, so there might be some synergies there. In terms of a battle card leaving the board, we can see by Trunks, obviously this is when you turn Super Saiyan after Gohan goes away, so presumably we're also going to get some kind of 5-cost blocker Gohan that will also synergize with the Trunks. So something to consider right there. I think it's tough to evaluate. I'm not entirely sold on it. I don't know how good it is. And I think this is one of the cards that requires the greater context of what set 2 brings to really understand if it's viable or not. At the moment, I don't know that this is something Green wants, but hey, having more ramp options is always welcome when we're looking to diversify our game plans and maybe play it a little bit different than the stock list we're seeing in set 1. While I do wish set 2 had more leaders to kind of introduce not only a different roster of characters, but more ways to play the game, I do think the cards that we're seeing right now are leading them to an exciting shakeup in what we're going to be playing in set 2, which I'm thrilled about because, you know, the more variety we have in gameplay, the more fun we can have with things and the more depth we have to be able to explore how to play this game. I think cards like Bulma are incredible. Kefla is fantastic. And Trunks is weird. And Zamasu just kind of exists. He's literally like a bigger Hercule, which like whatever, but maybe there are synergies there that'll make him even more worth it. So regardless, super excited about that. Super excited for more reveals. Again, if you guys want to talk reveals, Discord will be down in the link below. And let me know if you guys want me to keep on covering cards. Right now, I just kind of covered the highlights. We got some SRs, we got some leaders, but we're getting uncommons and commons every day as they lead up to the higher rarities in their different social media posts, Bandai specifically, of course. So let me know if you guys want me to cover those or if you'd rather just wait until everything's revealed. Either way, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Ciao.